Thank you. So something more about my background. I used to be I suppose I still am a programmer before going to law school. And I went to law school thinking that, this law thing this seems easy, right? Law is just like another, it's a system of rules. It's logical, consistent rules. It's easy. It's an easy way to make money for less work. But I assure everyone that thanks to teachers like Professor Dicini, I have since been disabused of that notion. Yeah, so I'm now a lawyer for the university. All right, so I call this portion the before times, just to give a preview of what we were up to, before the lockdown. Right? Do I have control of the? Wait, I can't control the. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Yeah, this is my first time to be in the office since the lockdown, and the period before the lockdown, seems to be so strange now. I look at my inbox, and my inbox had so many other priorities that were so naive. That are so naive now. Okay, so let me take you back to before the lockdown. March, first 2 weeks of March 2020, right? So we were not completely, taken by surprise by the pandemic. Prior to this period, we already had, we were building towards a long-term, plan for digitizing a lot of our functions. In fact, by that time, a lot of our critical functions, some of our critical functions were already online. With UP, right, CRS, our enrollment, HR was already digitized. The way we disburse and manage property, partly digitized. In UP Law, we had a couple of customized systems that were different from the university's systems because, well, the College of Law has special requirements, right? It's not enough that you pass UPCAT. You also need to pass the LAE, right? And so we have the LAE, application portal, right? We have slightly different grading system, in UP Law, right? We need to track them. We need to track their performance not only within within UP Law, but also we need to take note of their bar results. And so we had to develop our own student record system. And also we have a case management system for our legal aid office. Right? Prior to the lockdown, we also just recently relaunched the website. So the website has been freshly converted from something that's static to something that's managed by a content management system, which enabled us to make updates and changes to the website easier. All this was necessary because the office that I manage, the Information and Publication Division, not only handles the printing of books, right, for the college, but also the website as well as our social media content. So even before that, at least my department was already partially working on a remote basis. Why? Because, well, first we had we have the smallest plantilla in the college, among the smallest plantilla of regular employees in the college. But we need programmers, we need artists, we need talent that can't fit in the standard plantilla defined by the enabling law of the college. So we had to contract out some of those functions. And so we have the smallest plantilla and therefore the smallest office. we can't fit all that talent physically in one space. And so we have, we needed to work regularly with contractors. Also, we needed to do remote work because, as you know, we already have a campus in BGC. Half of the week I'm in BGC, the other half I'm in Diliman, and so I'm shuttling back and forth. And so I needed a way to manage them from afar. So we were working with through Microsoft Teams, which is a Slack work-alike, and Adobe Creative Cloud. So so everything from the draft, from the draft stages to the editing stages of our designs were available through Adobe Creative Cloud. Right, so this is the web page. So this is now dynamic, modern design. Yeah, so it lets us update our content regularly. Yeah, this is the LAE portal. You have to log in. Application is by default the application for LAE should be online, and you will be notified online. All right. So in fact, during in the last 2 days prior to the lockdown, we were still operating under the assumption that we'll continue with our digital transformation. The college was finalizing QMS, ISO process documentation. We want to be ISO certified, so we are documenting our processes, and that would make digitization easy for us, because if you document your processes, it will be easier for us to program. So we were finalizing details for that. One of the last things in my inbox that I saw right now, I had to handle catering details because we were all supposed to have a shoot, right? A film shoot, a video shoot. We were going to take videos of our professors talking about legal topics, and we were supposed to upload them to YouTube, and we were supposed to ease professors into being more comfortable in their role as public intellectuals online, right? So we were about to do that, and another thing in my inbox was we were already working on a social media plan for Women's Month. That's March, right? So we were already aware, right? We were on our way to full digitization, right? And we thought that we had time, but things happen, and so I call this next portion of our journey the churn. It's based on this quotation from one of my favorite sci-fi series, The Expanse. We play all our games, for our careers, our personal lives, but we take for granted that there's a bigger, a bigger game underneath everything. But every now and then it rears up its ugly head, and it transforms everything. And I think for this instance, we all became aware that there's a churn, right, underneath the games we're playing. All right, so when things hit, when the lockdown hit, we were forced. I think we were the only department that had pretty much a fully digital workflow. So we had to get everyone's computers into their homes. Nevertheless, we were just one small department in the college, in the law center, and so we were forced to consult with everyone else to be able to do a triage of sorts, right? So we had to think about what do we need to do in the short term, right? Yes, we'll worry about continuing our long-term functions when the new semester opens. But right now, within the first 2 weeks, in the first 2 months, what were the things that we needed to do? Well, we needed to identify and continue with our essential functions. And then we also had to save the rest of the semester. Right? And for the long term, yeah, how do we function as an educational institution? Okay, so regardless of whether or not it's short term or long term, I think our dean emphasized, made it clear for us na, okay, Malcolm Hall is closed, right? The campus is closed. But for the meantime, the website is our campus. That's the only physical manifestation. That's the only manifestation for the outside world to know that we're still here. We're still doing things. So I think it's time to beef up. It's a reminder to be friendly and to beef up your web team. Right? And it's a good thing that prior, way before the lockdown, we were able to, thanks to the dean, we were able to expand, our web team. We have, more than one artist now. We have several writers. We have, web and design, tech and design guys working on the website. Okay, so saving the semester largely meant that it was up to the teachers, of course, up to the teachers to to develop their own approaches. They would ask us for our recommendations, and we would give our recommendations, but everyone was trying to trying their best to experiment and work through this, see what works for them. And so we allowed multiple approaches. Right? I mean, what can you do? We were still trying to procure a permanent solution. So here are some of the things that they used. Right? So some of us already had Google Classroom. I would use Google Classroom even before the lockdown because it's a way for me to inform my students about what will happen next, whether I'll be absent the next meeting, and I can give them their grades anonymously through Google Classroom. So some of them adopted Google Classroom. It's a quick way to get an online learning system in place. But you know what? Some faculty members used email. They consulted me on how to work out email threads. Some faculty members used Viber, right? So it's chat and calls, and of course a lot of our faculty members used Zoom because it's there, it's popular, everyone was using it. Yeah, I'm just trying to. Yeah, so just yeah, so just so we were able to handle saving what was left of the semester, but we had to let go of a lot of things. Seminars and roundtables, the UP College of Law, the Law Center, or every day there's always a seminar or a roundtable discussion. Those are gone. Conferences, we were planning at least 2 major conferences for June. We were going to host an international conference. That's gone. MCLE, bar review, paralegal training program, gone, at least for the time being. But we're going to restart them soon. Publications, right? Our printer was not well ventilated. Printers were closed, right? So no publishing of books, of hard copy books. Yeah, so one of the few things that had to be preserved because we had a statutory duty is owner's function. The Law Center is host to the Office of the National Administrative Registrar. It's supposed to take in all these admin issuances so that those admin issuances will be effective, right? And institutions, offices needed to issue admin issuances to be able to deal with the pandemic. Right? That was something that we could not let go. And so within the first week, within the first 3 days, we had to cobble together a system for owner to publish registered issuances online. Right? And then next critical function, we brought our legal aid online. People were starting to come with problems related to the pandemic. They started coming up, COVID-related, lockdown-related legal issues started coming in. And so we set up a system, a web-based system for them to coordinate with our lawyers. And of course, we're part of a larger UP community, right? We had to address the health issues, the mental wellness issues of our larger community of students, right? We had to, we have alumni who wanted to raise funds for the PGH, and so we had to establish our COVID response portal. Right, so that was the short term. That was part of some of the short term things that we did. So, but from May 2020 onwards, we're starting to have a plan now. We're starting to work on a plan, put in place pieces of that plan to deal with the new normal. All right, so moving forward, we need to function as a school. And so we need to worry about admissions, about the delivery of instructions, right? Online or blended learning, and how to provide online materials. Right? Because, well, not only online materials for our students, but for our reviewers, as well as our popular books. Right? As an office, we need to sustain remote work. So, the UP College of Law issued this paper on building a resilient judicial system. We also held a webinar about how we can move the practice to the new normal. And then we launched our Moodle-based learning management system. So our online classes, can be accessed by our students through this site. So it's based on Moodle. We chose Moodle not only because of the features. It's very mature. A lot of institutions use it and have contributed to it, and so you can be sure that if there's a function that you want, there's a good chance that it's already been thought of by the developers. But we also choose Moodle because we have an existing network of support here in UP. The UPOU, right, uses Moodle. UVLE, the Diliman's virtual learning environment, uses Moodle. So we can count on the support of those other institutions for training, for management, for technical support. And also because Professor JJ and I are used to be UPOU faculty, so this is what we're used to. In fact, this is a screenshot of the first class that we were able to launch in Moodle, and it's Professor JJ's Obligations and Contracts class. Right? Because the moment we launched it, he was already ready with content. Right? He's been preparing for this for this moment to come. So next is admissions. Right? So as you know, we recently announced the results of the LAE, and usually we would post their names on the web, but then there would be a definitive authoritative copy of the list of passers here in the college. Right? I learned recently that people would go to the college and they would take a picture. They would take a picture of the printout, and sometimes they would take selfies, next to their name. So, but this time we did not have that. There was an instruction to shoo away all the students, all the passers who would go to looking for LAE results. So instead, we had to launch this time around the electronic version of the LAE results, right, was digitally signed, and so we don't have a printout. The digital copy is in fact the authoritative version. So anyone who wants to confirm would have to verify through a hash. Right? All right. So the problem with having just one solution. Right? So during the start of during the start of this period, a lot of people were coming to us with solutions, all sorts of solutions for learning management, and they were all promising, this is the only one you need, right? But we have a diverse faculty, right? We have a diverse faculty and a diversity of approaches. Some of our faculty will say, I can't do the Moodle thing. I can't appear in front of a screen. I can't open a window. So what will you do? Will you exclude them? Of course not. So we had to find ways of accommodating all the pedagogical approaches available to us. So some faculty they don't want to go to they don't want to Zoom from home. They don't want to go through that maybe indignity. Right? They want to go to a physical location in the college. So we had to work on a way of for physical distancing, disinfection, and make sure that they're still they can stream live safely. Some faculty they don't want to appear before a screen at all. They don't want live. So again, we had to accommodate them, pre-record their lecture. So in a way, we have to over provision, right, in order to accommodate all of them. Right. So now we are we're not just in the business of preparing lectures. We now have to prepare interactive learning objects, right? Videos with embedded quizzes. We're now also in the business of organizing webinars, live events on YouTube and Facebook Live. Also, that's something that we have to learn now. So moving forward, we are trying to get more people on board the online classroom. We are training support staff because so we're training our teachers. We're just about to end the first cycle of training, the first batch of teachers in using Moodle. But we also need to train support staff, setting up their classes, preparing quizzes for some teachers who may not be able to use Moodle to its fullest potential. All right. So other things that we are procuring, right? We want to have 2 video production units, so 2 teams and 2 lines of equipment at the same time who can do shooting to editing to post. So we now have openings for cameramen, for editors, and post and sound mixers. We are making sure that we have ventilated rooms, well-ventilated rooms. We are purchasing acrylic shields as well as UV lamps, so that we have regular disinfection. We are also considering, putting production people in a bubble, meaning they stay here in the dorms in UP Diliman, right? They don't go back to their communities. No one's using the dorms anyway, so they stay in the dorm. And they're available for shoots. We only need to occasionally, after disinfection, after a safe protocol, fly in the professors. Right? So this is the approach being considered by the NBA. Right? All the players will be in the facility in Florida, right? And all the support staff will be in Florida in a disinfected bubble, and the whole world will just, no fans, will just watch them. So this is something that we are also considering. So for work, everyone will continue to be in Microsoft Teams. We want to mirror our physical document routing and approval procedures in SharePoint and Azure for external clients. And of course, we'll still use Zoom because everyone seems to like it. Okay, so do I still have time for a short rant? Okay, so one of the things that I'm happy Prof. JJ allowed me to do while I was working as an associate was, he allowed me to work, not use Word. He allowed me to continue using my code editor, so that and I'll just even though he can't understand, medyo mahirap yung source code, I can output to RTF or to doc or to PDF anyway. And the only, one of the reason why I continue to insist on using my source code editor was because, well, first, I don't want to interrupt my typing flow. When I'm typing, I'm already in the flow. I don't want to break it by grabbing my mouse and mousing around and hunting for the right window, right menu and menu option icon, etc., etc. I can do everything through a markup language. I can control the formatting. I can control the structure just by typing the instructions. Right? So it's a continuous typing flow. Right? Another reason why I like using a source code editor was that so I could continue using professional level source code control, right? So one of my greatest frustrations, dealing with ordinary offices as well as law offices, was that people, lawyers included, are still stuck. So you're naming your files. You're naming when you move from one version of the file to another, you're saving it as another file, right? And you're just renaming it. You're dealing with it through the file system. Final draft 1.5, final draft 2.5, super final draft promise 2.5. That is something that programmers have solved decades ago, right? This is not a problem for us because we use source code control. I remember hearing about indirect allegations of plagiarism, the plagiarism case involving Justice Mariano del Castillo. One of the court said in their decision, which excused him. He said, it's okay because the problem is, there was no transparency of the versions of the changes from one version of the document to another. And I think that's fair. You can't see, unless you do something, you can't see the granular changes from one version to another. But that's not a problem for programmers, right? This is like polio, right? No one should have to suffer through that. But the problem is to use source code control, you have to you not only have to change your tools, but I think you also have to change the way you think about your work, right? You have to think about your work not as discrete files, but as a tree, a flow of data. And I suppose that's a paradigm shift that would require more time, right? Yeah, but I think the lesson I hope to convey is that there are so many things out there that we can learn from, that we can make our work better, we can make our approaches better, we can make our life easier. if we can be humble enough to take from all these other fields. Since we're shifting to online learning, I'm realizing that it's not a matter of just trying to translate the classroom experience into Zoom. You can't just call, you just can't arrange a Zoom call and assume that everything will proceed like before. You need to change your approach. You need to change the way you deliver content. You need to change the way you test. And so more and more, the last few weeks, I've been borrowing from other fields, educational psychology, time to get caught up in your educational psychology. Maybe it's also time to consider learning more about gaming and game design, because we are dealing with a generation that's really wired for gaming and incentives, right? Think of a way of using that for your courses. More and more, we have to consider the language of film, right? And think about programming, right? So yeah, that's the lesson that I've been learning, and I hope I was able to share a good part of that to all of you. Thank you very much.